Notice of this meeting was provided to the Westfield Leader, advertised on January the 4th, 2018. Notification was sent to the Star Ledger, promptly posted on the municipal public bulletin board. And filed in the office of the municipal clerk, informed the public the time and place according to the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Law, Chapter 231, PL 1975. Well, before we go into our regular meeting, I'd like to ask for an executive session. Kathleen, please read the resolution.
Closed session resolution authorizing an executive session for the purpose of discussing the redevelopment of North Avenue project and matters of attorney-client privilege relating to the above and in accordance with NJSA 10:4-12, closed session meetings open to public, exclusion of public subject of matter.
Do I have a motion?
I make that motion, Mayor.
Have a second? Roll call, please, Kathleen.
Mayor Lombardo?
Yes.
Councilman Kukrow?
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro?
Aye.
Councilman McCormick?
Yes.
Councilman Sarno?
Aye.
Councilwoman Tedisco?
Aye.
Council President Blumenstock?
Aye.
Mr. Donato, will have any decisions at the end of the executive session?
No formal action is going to be taken tonight.
Thank you. Shall we go to the conference room, council?
Big delay.
Okay, council, we'll continue our regular business. Mr. Donato, do you have anything for this evening?
Thank you, Mayor. Just, you asked for two ordinances, so they were all prepared. They're on the agenda tonight for introduction. They are ordinance numbers 1815 and 1816. They are the pet sales ordinance and the junior firefighter program ordinance respectively. That's all, Mayor.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Donato at this time? Hearing none, any unfinished business? Any new business? I have a couple items this evening. The fourth annual Garwood Rocks will be held on Sunday, June the 3rd, 2018, between the hours of 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. Carol Carney, our business liaison and representative from this is the production of the final organization meeting this past Thursday. They are anticipating a minimum of 250 antique cars, and currently they have 75 vendors that have registered to participate, and the list is growing daily. A new added feature item for this first time will be a radio slot racing car track. There will also be a full day of food, fun, and entertainment for all. Just a reminder that this coming Monday, May 28th, the mayor and council will be marching in the Cranford Memorial Parade. We will need 2 to 3 children to carry our Garwood banner. Please be at the staging area no later than 8:30 a.m. Also, all residents are invited to attend the Garwood Memorial Service hosted at the celebration, hosted by the Celebrations Committee and held at noon at the Columbian Club on South Avenue. Russo Development, South Avenue Urban Renewal LLC will be conducting a town hall public information meeting on Wednesday, May 30th, 2018, from 7 to 9 p.m. in Lincoln School, 400 South Avenue. Russo Redevelopment will be mailing out a flyer to all households in Garwood that is expected to hit the mailboxes between May 25th and 29th. The public information session conducted by Russo Development will provide accurate information and answers to questions concerning abatement of asbestos, pre-demolition, demolition activities, as well to be discussed the process of demolition, soil remediation, and their efforts to safeguard the Garwood community and its residents. Although I will be introducing these professionals at the start of the meeting, there's no way that this meeting will be conducted by the mayor or the council members. Mr. Minks explained to me that Mr. Russo will continue to work with the borough and has agreed to delay the actual physical demolition of the structure until after June 30th, when Lincoln School is scheduled to be closed for the summer. Mr. Russo has endeavored throughout the process and the remaining process to cooperate with the borough and to accommodate the needs of the community. As per my request, Mr. Minks, Russo Redevelopment will provide a reasonable, detailed monthly LSRP status report that is suitable for publication on the borough website. Mr. Minks agrees, and I quote, "This will be a good means of keeping public informed as to the process of the project and hopefully prevent the spreading of different misinformation and rumors that have been recently done." We're all in receipt of an email from Mr. Chris Laspina of 165 Spruce Avenue, the topic being street parking near recreation complex. I personally reached out to Mr. Laspina and told him that I would talk to the chief of police. If need be, I would move the information forward to the parking committee. I've already had a preliminary meeting with Chief Wright, and we'll continue to talk about the parking situation later this week. After a recent post information about Westfield proposed ice rink on my mayor's webpage, I received a few emails from Garwood residents opposing the project. I also responded to those residents that communicated to Mayor Brendel Westfield. According to the Westfield leader, Westfield Council will vote on this matter tonight. If it is passed, approval in Westfield, be assured that I will monitor the progress of this project to protect Garwood residents and businesses. I urge any and all residents who have complaints about the project, once it begins, to contact me, and I will be in constant contact with Mayor Brendel as the project progresses. Shall it be approved at this meeting tonight? Just as a final note, we all received word today that the construction repair of the Michael Vincoli Recreation Building are finally complete. The building has been inspected by the borough engineer, and the building department has yet to complete the final inspection. That's all I have this evening. Moving on, comments and matters for discussion from the members of council. Council President Blumenstock.
Thank you, Mayor. You'll see on the consent agenda that there is a resolution to hire a new handyman for our seniors. Our longtime handyman, Al Del Conte, has decided to resign. We thank him for all of the great work he has done for our seniors and wish him well. Our new hire is Richard Holler, who also does handyman work for Cranford, and we welcome him to Garwood. Also on the agenda is a resolution hiring Mezrakola for work here on the parking lot at Borough Hall. It was a dangerous situation to have that hole there, and it needed to be resolved as soon as possible. And as you may have seen coming in here tonight, it is in the process of being taken care of. There were a few estimates procured from the borough administrator, and this one from Mezzacola was the lowest. You'll also see on the consent agenda a resolution authorizing us to join the Morris County Co-op. This co-op is where our DPW superintendent would purchase the Mason dump truck that is a part of the bond ordinance that we'll be voting on later. Unfortunately, the co-ops we're already a part of do not have the right type of truck available, and in researching estimates for the bid process, it could cost us an extra $15,000 or so to purchase the truck that way. So the prudent method is to just join this co-op at this time. A couple more things, Mayor, about parking. You did mention Mr. Laspina's email, and I appreciate you getting back to him. I also spoke to him. It is a pretty dangerous situation over there on Spruce, especially for the kids. This is the 100 block of Spruce, the dead end behind the rec complex. With cars parking on both sides, it makes sort of a dangerous situation because it is tight. And so I would also, besides asking the mayor to bring it to either the parking committee or laws and license, ask that you include the Myrtle Avenue dead end on the other side of the rec complex. That had until recently a no parking for rec visitors on that street. However, after looking into it, we discovered that there is no ordinance to support that enforcement. So that sign has been removed, but of course the same problems could begin to plague that street. So if we could examine both of them with the parking, I'd appreciate it. And I'd also like to ask the parking committee one more thing. To perhaps speak with the Board of Ed to investigate something else that was brought to my attention. Because of the new residential permits, of course, the second and third have been avenue have been there for a while. parking is tight over there for the teachers. Even with the help of the first aid squad, there's still double parking in the lot. Maybe the parking committee could try and tackle this with the school. I'm, not really sure what the answer would be, but maybe the parking committee could.
Just a point of interest, we have talked about that in general terms, but
Okay.
Councilman, if you
Go, you were there. No, you were there. Go ahead, Mayor. You can answer.
basically, they did talk about the parking. And
Yeah.
there was no resolution at that time, is that correct? Right. But we will bring it up again.
Okay. Thank you. I think the teachers would appreciate it over there. So that's all from my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. Councilman Kukrow?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I was glad you spoke to Mr. Lespina. I spoke to him at length for well over an hour. Nobody had called him yet. It's not just a matter of parking there. People are dumping their garbage there. So, I think something really has to be done because he's been going through this for at least 5 years already. And I know him. He's not one to complain. So I really think it has to be rectified for the people that live down there. Also, what kind of complaints were you having about the ice skating in Westfield?
Well, the primary was the location of the chiller and the lighting and the parking, just in general terms of this stuff. The chiller is almost the same decibel as
I don't understand.
the decibel level is equivalent to almost having a, can't think of the word.
The decibel level from what your email was is about 80 to 90 decibels, which is definitely something higher than what would be normally acceptable in a residential area, thus bringing concern to those that are living nearby. Think of a constant generator.
Yes,
Oh.
yes, it's 24/7.
Because you gotta keep that cold, so it's probably below freezing.
Mayor, when were you first informed about this?
Just casually, about a week or so, or two ago, the mayor just casually mentioned it at an event, and then I spoke to her, I don't know, a week ago, and then I put something on the Facebook page, which refers right back to the website of Westfield, to explain the whole process that they were going through. And it's easy for me to say, but she assured me that this is a temporary project, and if it comes out to be a negative thing, that they will not pursue it.
Well, I'm sure they'll look into it very closely because they frankly really don't care about what's going on in Garwood. So, Westfield's entitled to put what they want over there. It's Westfield.
Well, I hope she'll know best because she lives in the area.
Okay.
Anything else? Thank you. Councilman Lazaro?
Yes, thank you. So, just wanted to recommend that the council pass resolution 18-125 in the consent agenda that we'll vote on later today. It's a resolution awarding work to the Hirsch Company. They had to repair a door in the municipal building, specifically the one where the generator is. It was closing improperly, and the fire department had cited it as a fire hazard that had to be fixed. So I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that particular resolution. Also, I want to thank Mr. Renaud for getting the ordinance to ban the sale of certain pets, 18-15, specifically dogs and cats that come from puppy mills and other entities that mistreat or throw care of these animals aside for profit. Larry Cohen from the Humane Society brought this ordinance to my attention, and I'm so glad that he did because I do feel very passionately about protecting animals, and this ordinance sends an important statement about the values of this town. So I urge all the council members to support the introduction of this ordinance. And also finally, as Tina emailed yesterday, the Girl Scouts provided more detail to the murals that they would create on the shed in Hartman Park. This would not be started at the very earliest until the new equipment was finished being installed. And then I just have one other thing, which is more of a question for you, Councilwoman Cooper. Have you decided what you want the council to do in regards to the Union County freeholder appointment of the county manager situation? Was there something that you had mentioned this a couple meetings ago that was mentioned that you wanted the council to do something that had come up with?
Oh, about the corruptness?
Yes.
Okay, do you have any ideas, since they're pretty much all Democrats down there, do you have ideas for that?
Well, I thought thought that was something you were looking into figuring out exactly what you wanted to do, and what your recommendation was the laws and license, whether it be a letter. I mean, that's up to you, this was in your committee, so I was just wondering if there's been any updates on that, that's all.
No.
Or decisions. Okay, so nothing, okay.
Okay, Councilman? Thank you. Councilman McCormick?
Yes, Mayor. How much time do I have?
3 minutes.
Okay. Hopefully I can squeeze this in.
At least we got a smile out of that.
So I have many questions here. And I'm gonna first start off with the ordinance 18-14. Within 18-14, it seems like we're squeezing so many things in that are of importance, but sometimes it's almost like federal government. You have to say yes to this in order to absorb this. So where am I going with this? I'm gonna start off with something pretty profound with, and that is the DPW. I asked about a dump truck, and I'll step back a little bit. Our first meeting for me was in January as a new council person. I was awarded to be on the streets and roads. And my first meeting, my first duty was to talk about a dump truck. The date I'll look back, but it's out of order. It's gonna be put to the wayside, and we needed to purchase a new dump truck. And we were to purchase a new dump truck, or we're thinking about purchasing a new dump truck, which would have been of $130,000 if I can bring it up here. And in the course of that, in the discussions with Clint, I said, why don't we just disregard that big dump truck that's only used for 2 months or so, and just get a regular Mason dump truck that our people can use daily. And with that, we agreed that that would be a good thing, to just do a regular Mason dump truck. With that, I asked the question of, what are we doing with the salt spreader from the dump truck we're retiring? Don't we have another truck that would fit on? And the answer was yes, but it would be a cost of about $6,000 to take that salt spreader and put it onto an older dump truck, just in case our new one or one that follows breaks down. I have yet to see that in anything that was given to me due to 18-14, so I'm wondering where that $6,000 comes in affiliation with that. Is that taken into this bond ordinance, or is that taken into just coming out of the ordinary funds of the DPW? That's number one. Number two, we talked about the fire department at our last meeting. It was a quick response from Councilwoman Tedesco that we need to buy or purchase an air compressor to make the new bottles that the fire department needs for the fire department. Now, being as the chair of the fire department, I wasn't so keen on jumping forward with this. But in my take of having a meeting with Councilwoman Tedesco and Councilwoman Kukaro with Officer Tweedle, I remember Councilwoman Tedesco saying, Eileen, we have funds that would pay for this compressor because other departments did not fulfill their obligations, so we have extra funds. And now I see in 18-14 that we're bonding for these extra funds. So being a new council person, I'm assuming that these were extra funds, and now we have to bond for them. Second, or third rather, in 18-14, we are looking to bond all these items that we're looking for here. So we have a DPW truck, we have the fire department air compressor, we have the HPC in the building we're sitting in here today, we have the file department that Christina has asked us for, and I see that we're only appropriating, or we are appropriating $17,000 in fees to get this bond going. But last 3 weeks ago, where we passed this no zero tax increase to the budget, he only put aside $15,000 for our capital funds. So right now, as I speak to everybody here today on council, and you sitting here, and you people listening to this, we are already reaching in to the capital funds of the people before me for $2,000. So we're robbing the piggy bank. So I wonder how we have passed a budget of zero, but right away, we are really looking forward to take more money. So I'm looking for an explanation first from Councilwoman due to the roads, and then for the president, just to answer all these questions that I may have. So maybe you guys can fill me in on this. Again, I'm a learning process, so thank you, that's it for me.
Well, who did you want to speak to? I mean,
Well, at first it would be the DPW on the truck.
At that meeting, you agreed, with us about putting that 6,000 onto the plow, so I'm not sure if you, the salt spreader onto the truck, I'm not sure if you're just against it, or, I mean, it's fine if you are, if you change your mind.
Councilwoman,
but-
nowhere in anything that I've seen sent to me, and obviously I asked you through a private email, what are the specifications of the new dump truck?
And you received those.
And you told me that it is a Mason dump truck. So obviously, being a professional in the business of owning many trucks, I wasn't satisfied with that answer. So I tagged along you, Mark, and myself, and I went straight to the source of Clint. And Clint gave me a detailed 12-page specification on a dump truck that we're signing on to.
Yes, you did.
Okay, so again, in this 12-page specification, in our agreement, in our compromise of a Mason dump truck, nothing in here states that we're gonna spend $6,000 to outfit an old truck
That
with the
was-
new, it's not in here, Councilwoman.
It's not in that, it has to be, it
It's not in
has to
here.
be purchased.
So is it bonded? Is it coming out of the ordinary expense?
Councilman, give her a
If I could
chance to
answer.
speak.
Thank you. We will have to purchase that separately. Those specifications are for that truck itself. It will have to be purchased separately. I'm not, again, part of the conversation that we had was that you agreed to putting the salt spreader on. So
I think
it will have to be purchased.
I think, I'll give you the benefit of that, I may be confusing you.
You know what, I don't appreciate you speaking to me like that, so I think.
We
Mayor,
decided on,
I'm finished with this.
Let me put my 2 cents in here. I think what he's talking about is, we were all under the impression that it was 70,000 grand total. Am I
I
correct
think
in what
we're
you're speaking
putting the
about?
bond for 75,000.
more or less.
Okay.
All
Yes,
right,
that's
all right, so
So
the
it
extra
will cover
5,000,
the salt spreader, yeah.
all right.
That was for the new purchase of a Mason dump truck.
Correct, I thought everything.
But
was-
the compromise brought forward to the council, or to the committee, between Councilman Mark and Councilman Jennifer, if I might say, and myself, was that going from an expensive of a big dump truck to a small dump truck would save the taxpayer a lot of money. We are benefiting from a truck we can use on an everyday purpose. I was asked if I was okay with that. I said, absolutely, under one condition, that we take the salt spreader from the truck we're retiring and put it on the older dump truck that runs terrifically, stated from Clint. And I have yet to see that in this cost of what we're doing today. So that is my conversation.
That's a separate issue though, from this new dump truck.
I haven't seen it in
So
here.
are you, so to clarify,
One second.
I'm really, I'm having a hard
Councilman,
time following
One
as well,
second.
so
I
I'm trying to
think,
clarify.
I just want to reinforce something you said at the last meeting. I think all these conversations has to be done not on this dais. It's not a private, but I think these conversations have to be done between council people and committees. I truly believe in the committee system. And this is where it should be done.
Well, he has questions, because this was
Well,
just.
he should be contacting the appropriate council person.
He did.
And I'm not gonna sit here and go back and forth. I'm
No,
just telling you.
actually, this was not asked of me afterwards, so.
It wasn't?
No, we had an email from the superintendent stating something. That's where we'll let it be for now.
Councilman, you have anything further?
That's all for me, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Sarno?
Thank you, Mayor. I know we talked about, obviously, the parking committee has been brought up a number of times, and I don't want to even reiterate what I was about to read because it's already been discussed. But let me at least propose two solutions
Okay.
here in workshop and avoid having to go through committee if possible. Why don't we mimic I guess this has been exasperated because of what Jen told me about the ordinance. There's no ordinance to have a no parking for the recreation complex, so we can't do anything with that, right? Because it's on the books. Will we have to put something on the books to do that? Is that what the understanding is?
I think for the chief to enforce anything.
I get
yes.
that.
Yes.
Now, let me throw something else out there, okay? Why don't we extend the permit parking to both the 100 block of Myrtle and Spruce, okay? And make it specifically permit only and add like a sign that says parking for the recreation complex is 1 block down on Myrtle. You know, and the reason I say avoid the committee is the essence of time. I mean, this is an issue that's been ongoing. So I'm going to take a shot here. I know a lot of times it gets thrown in the committee, right? So why don't I at least get a good conversation here in an agenda-setting format, and let's see if we can get something, at least some kind of language brought up. Maybe we can direct the attorney to include both the 100 block of Myrtle and Spruce.
To add to that, I think it's a good idea. Mr. Renan, the law, as far as that goes, would that be more appropriate than, say, the no parking sign that was up previously? I'm not sure the legality of that previous sign that was put up. Clearly, it wasn't done by ordinance, but even if it were to be done by ordinance, I don't know if that's something that towns really can do. I'm only saying that because I think some years ago, something came up about whether or not you could temporarily make streets one-ways. So I feel as though there's laws higher than local that govern that.
Parking is something that you can generally do without having to get DOT approval, so you can do an ordinance. I'm not, if the choice is, well, you decide. I mean, if the choice is banning parking or having residential parking, only residential preferential parking, does that cover the times that you're concerned
Well,
about?
That's what I was
does
just
it all
going to
concern the days too? Because the activity probably is a Saturday and
I was
Sunday.
just gonna say, I
Yeah,
don't know if that would
apologize, I was just
cover.
gonna try to find the ordinances.
Okay.
I probably don't have time to do it right now while we're discussing it, but those ordinances pertain to daytime hours. Is that gonna solve your problem?
Because I think it's a weekend problem.
Yeah.
It's a recreation complex alone.
And it's
Right,
an
that's what I'm
evening-
saying. So
it's an
just
evening and
adding them
weekend
in.
problem.
Simply adding them in won't solve the problem, so you have to decide, what hours and what days, and then we'd have to have a separate ordinance in the same section, but it would have to be a separate ordinance, because we can't just throw streets in, because all you're gonna do then is ban them during, daytime hours on weekdays.
Mr. Renan, what would an ordinance look like to cover what was previously put up?
I'm not sure, what was previously put up on?
There was a sign that said no parking for the recreation
It was
complex,
just
right?
no access for recreation visitors, or complex visitors, something like
That was
that.
not allowed to be done now.
Well, it's not,
Correct.
it's not gonna be
Unenforceable.
Because to your point,
Because
we're
there's
not.
no ordinance to cover it first.
We have
Right.
to put things we had in. You'd have to trace the vehicle.
Second,
I'm
I
not
was just
sure.
gonna say that, even if it were enforceable, you'd have to follow people around and see where they're going.
That's gonna work on the weekends. That doesn't, the permit only may work.
Can you make it can you do one way? I mean, can you do one way? Then how you
But then you gotta go back. You can only go, this isn't the Hotel California.
Eventually, you'd have a good collection of cars there.
If you did do the
Just wait, you
permit,
can't come out, like a mousetrap.
I mean, the thing is that they're dumping garbage down there, which,
I understand the concern, and the mayor's already kind of whispered, like, I think we need a committee meeting.
In the next
but
few
if
weeks.
you do the permit, it would have to be an extended hours and weekends
Yes.
difference
Oh,
for the,
for sure.
yeah, okay.
For
It
sure.
would be a unique,
Okay.
it would be a unique parking permit, yeah.
Okay.
Well, you want to cover, you're basically doing nights and weekends.
Right.
That's
And you
the
want
thing,
to
right.
cover it, but the opposite of what we
Right.
have now. But you'd have to tell me what the hours, I can do it with relatively easily. If I have what the hours are, I'll mirror what we have now. I just need
But that's the
the
norm.
streets, the dimensions. Usually when we have it and it goes, I don't want to drag this out, but
No.
maybe you could expedite it in some way. But usually it goes to the police department. They make a recommendation. They say from this spot to this spot on this
Okay.
side of the street on these days.
All right.
No, I'm not, I got one more thing.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. So last month, most council members voted on a budget that had no increase on the tax levy. Now, only a few weeks later, we're looking at a bond ordinance in the net amount of $334,000. When this past budget only earmarked $15,000, as mentioned, in the capital improvement fund, and set aside about roughly $70,000 for interest payments alone. We as a council knew the items being proposed in this bond ordinance months ago, yet no one voted on the budget addressed any concern for this increased debt. So today, on the eve of voting on the introduction of this bond ordinance, I urge specifically Councilwoman Kukrow to vote this down. We have seen time and time again that council members Blumenstock, Lazar, and Tedisco always vote together. So really, I think it's up to you to save Garwood from further debt and put some of these projects off for next year when council can better prepare for the impact in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Tedesco?
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, I had no reports, but based on the conversations, I should say a few things. One, just to clarify, the South Avenue demolition, I know we received the email and then you read about it in your report, Mayor, about they're going to hold off on that until
June
June 20th? it
Yes,
was?
or when school closes.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, very good. And as far as the finance issues that I guess came up, one, maybe I should preface it and say, Councilman McCormick, to your questions, I mean, I don't know of any answer that I can give will change your mind to support this bond ordinance 18-14, since at the last council meeting you said you wouldn't support it, and I respect that. You're entitled to that vote, of course. And just to correct the record, though, as far as our fire committee meeting went, when you said that I said to Councilwoman Kukrow that other departments did not fulfill their obligations, it sounded like it had more to do with the operating budget, but what I was referring to at that particular time, and forgive me, I don't know exactly what word I said, but that was looking at the original cost for the items that were discussed at the special budget meeting compared to where we were a couple weeks ago when we looked at those costs with revised numbers. And that's why at the last council meeting I provided the chart to show the capital item, the original cost estimate we had, the revised estimate, the difference there, and so that's what was being referred to. Essentially, the HVAC system cost $15,000 less than we expected. The records management, while we applied for a $40,000 matching grant to Union County as the infrastructure grant, we only received $40,000, so that was used to sort of leverage the position to be able to include the fire department's compressor for filling air bottles that you're referring to. As far as the discussion about, that both you, Councilman McCormick and Councilman Sarno brought up about the down payments, I know you expressed this earlier in the budget process, and I imagine that was one of the, it sounded like to me that was one of the reasons you voted down the budget, because we budgeted $15,000 in the capital improvement line instead of $17,000, so that $2,000 difference. But I just want to point out, we do have a capital fund that's basically our mechanism if we want to pay cash for various items in town, and we have this council, certain members up here that were there at the time, we've passed capital ordinances to pay cash for items, including, say, the dispatch center upgrade that we did. We did those by cash with bipartisan compromises. So I see this as no different, that it's not really robbing any piggy bank, it's just using that money that is set aside for that purpose, for capital items. So if it's $15,000 out of the 2018 budget and $2,000 out of the capital fund that's sitting there, I don't see that as being a bad deal. If you do, I totally respect that, and I imagine that's why you'll be voting down 18-14 later, but, you know, the Finance Committee very carefully looked at all the requests made by the departments. The departments here are responsible. They're not asking for just wish after wish after wish. They're putting a lot of consideration into their requests. We put a lot of consideration into what we can potentially grant or those that we say have to wait in the future. And we did that with a number of items. So this is what we as a bipartisan finance committee came up with. I hope it passes tonight. I still support it. And if you don't, that's okay. I hope I answered at least a bit of your questions.
Is that all, Councilman? Councilwoman?
That's all I have.
I just
Thank you.
want to.
Am I able to rebuttal on that, or?
Shortly?
Sure. So what I heard as the chair of the fire department is what I heard. You can't take away the truth. And with that said, why did we cut $10,000 out of the budget for the fire department? And then what you're claiming I didn't hear, now all of a sudden we have monies to buy this compressor for the fire department. That is what I'm very curious about. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I know you don't want to back and forth on this, but it's important that the public record is correct. To say that I said, quote, fulfill obligations, or rather, quote, departments did not fulfill their obligations to this councilwoman, so that's why we can now afford the fire compressor, is just not true. I mean, I don't know, did you record that meeting? That you have the exact words I used?
That's enough.
I'm just saying here.
Councilwoman, thank you.
Mayor, can I just piggyback her for 1 second, please?
You have
Number
1 second, and we're done with this.
Number one, the extra money did come from items that did not cost what the estimates were. I mean, that's exactly what happened at that meeting. And number two, most importantly, I want to know how much, I was really hoping everybody would support the budget, but I know there's going to be two that are not. I would like to know how much you gentlemen would like to raise the taxes to make us not vote for this budget. So if you can answer that for me.
No, with that question, we're gonna move on.
I know, right?
Thank you. Moving on to public comment, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the mayor and council? Please step to the microphone, state your full name and address, please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Is now an appropriate time to speak?
Yes, sir.
About one of the ordinances?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Name and address, please?
Yeah, I will. Sure. So hi again, my name's Larry Cohen. I live in Fanwood, New Jersey. I'm here as a volunteer county legislative leader for the Humane Society of the United States. Obviously, I'll be following through on this ordinance as you work through it and with your second reading as well. What I wanted to present to you tonight is a couple of things. First, I have 5 signed letters of support for this ordinance from dog-centric businesses in your community, including the 3 pet stores in your community. They all understand what this ordinance is about and have said that they are in support of it. So can I just, you can hand them out if you want to. And the second thing is, you know, I mentioned it last time I was here. Within the next 2 weeks, you're going to be bombarded by a lot of people, a lot of emails, you may get some calls. Certainly at the next meeting there will probably be a significant number of people here, and you're going to be hearing a lot of partisan talk on this from both sides. I wanted to give you something so you understand the actual issue here, and that is that the regulations that New Jersey put into place do not work anymore. And because of that, pet stores are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I'm not going to give you my opinion on that. I'm going to offer you proof. Briefly, the way the law is supposed to work is the pet stores give the towns a list of the breeders they've used. The USDA used to put on their website inspections of those breeders so that any group that wanted to could take those lists, match them up with the inspection reports, and see what kind of breeders the pet stores were using. For 1 year that worked. The year after the law was passed, it worked. But then the USDA in early 2017 took those inspection reports off its website. They're gone. You can't do that anymore. So right now, pet stores are operating blindly. Well, in terms of other people, it's blind. We have no idea what breeders they're using. We have no idea what kinds of breeders they're using, what those breeders are doing in terms of violations or whatever. What I would like to offer you are real inspection reports for the year that this worked for 2 local pet stores that you're probably going to hear from. They make a habit of following us in their sphere of influence, so to speak, Union County. And they try and poison the well with a lot of misinformation. This is fact. These are inspection reports from breeders that they listed on their lists that they gave to their towns. So you'd look at their list and you'd see a breeder and you'd go to the USDA website and you'd look at the inspection report and you'd see things like that a breeder listed on her report, her veterinary report, that she euthanized her dogs by shooting them in the head at close range. That's not, I'm not embellishing that. Those are the words that are on the report. And there's tons more of that. So I just want to offer that for you. If you don't want to read the actual reports, I have a summary. A summary on the front here that just lists these specific breeders that these stores have admitted using, and it summarizes what the reports were on those breeders, how they behave. So the danger here is that we can no longer get these reports. You don't know what these pet stores are doing. You have no idea. Nor do any people who are going into those stores and buying puppies. So I will offer this up to you as well, and anybody who wants may have it.
I can see you're very passionate, but you can summarize it.
I'm done. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jim Matthew, 335 Hazel Avenue. I just want to appeal to the council and to you, Mayor, please, to state an opinion on this. Please vote down this bond ordinance. Stop digging the hole deeper in Garwood. Stop miring this small borough in debt. This is a huge amount of debt for a town of 4,500 people. Please vote against this. Come to some type of compromise that does not put us in debt. Let's stop charging things that we need on the credit card. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to step forward?
Good evening, Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council. Bruce Patterson, 325 Willow Avenue. Yeah, this bond ordinance obviously is a hot potato. I guess a couple of questions. Well, an easy question, maybe. Next year, will we have another bond ordinance? I know we have a 3-year plan in place or a 5-year plan in place.
I don't know if an official 5-year plan.
All right, I mean, normally the streets, there's a bond ordinance for that, but I mean, is there going to be additional equipment?
Yes, as far as I know, there was some.
It's on the town
Yeah.
road, it's on the 5-year capital plan.
Okay.
Of course, it's up to that council.
Right.
Yeah, right. But see, I'm just trying to wrap my head around what this bond ordinance is about and how it changed, I guess, from the initial budget discussions to now. And to me, it didn't really seem like it changed any, but Councilman Sardo said it went up. But back when, and I guess to Councilwoman Tedesco, I mean, you had items to purchase that you were going to put in a bond, and I recall there was a list of them, and it was going to total up to something. I mean, we're looking at a bond ordinance of 416K. The numbers, back a month ago when you were looking at it, what was it going to total up to?
Mayor, you want me to answer this?
Please.
Sure, not a problem. So the 416,000 is for the entire bond ordinance, and there's grant money that's included in that. So less it, the net, I believe the number is 334,000. It's within the ordinance. The estimate that I originally gave, less the grant money, was $320,000, and then the revised estimate, including the compressor, actually went down to $311,000. The reason that it's about $23,000 difference there is, as it says in that ordinance, there are engineering, attorney, advertising, those types of soft costs included with that. The information that I provided out of the, at the budget meetings and even 2 weeks ago, it was about the equipment and the building upgrade costs. This is typical of any bond ordinance. There would be soft costs, or sometimes certain bond ordinances have a 10% cushion.
Do you have a copy of the ordinance?
No, I'm not,
18
no, no,
dash
and
14,
you
is it out
got
there?
a chart,
Because, you know, we all received a copy of the entire ordinance, and
Yeah, we don't-
it's not out there for public
At
consumption?
intro, I don't.
Not in Joe, only during
So nothing
public.
for intro, because it would have answered all the questions you have. I don't know why we have why is that policy there?
That's always been to my knowledge. They're
Yep.
out there when the public can speak on them.
Right, that's when we call
Fair
for
enough.
correspondence.
Yeah, well,
It would have answered some of the stuff you
Once it becomes introduced, that's when the public can open and get them, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
It's on the
okay.
bulletin
Yeah,
board as
and
well.
Yeah,
Okay, but it's not introduced at this point,
No.
and we're, maybe the public is speaking prematurely, but I'm just trying to understand these numbers so we can move forward. And obviously, the HVAC was 15 grand less, and the records management was 10 grand less, so that was like a 25 grand savings. The air compressor, which was in the fire department's request of $77,000, which.
No. The compressor was a capital item request, that was never intended for the budget.
Okay, it was
The
never,
operating budget, and it's $16,000 for the compressor.
all right, but I mean, it was never in the fire department request where you cut it
It-
back,
it-
everybody was talking about this.
No, because that's operating, what you're referring to.
All right, so it looked like we saved 25,000 on records management and the HVAC, and we're gonna spend an extra 16 grand for the air compressor, so we're still some kind of negative, a net savings
It's a net
in there.
negative than the original.
And then you're talking about 15,000 to 17,000, which is for the soft costs, which is $2,000 more.
The 15 to 17 numbers are the down payment for the bond ordinance. And to Councilman Sarno's point, it is in the ordinance itself, but, and I'm sure that would be very helpful for you, Mr. Patterson, but the 17,000 is for the down payment. Our line item in our operating budget for the capital improvement fund was 15,000. Those are those two numbers.
All right,
They're not the soft costs.
See, overall, it seems like there is still a savings excluding these soft costs,
Correct.
which
Which
we always
exists.
encounter every time in any bond, there's soft costs.
Correct.
All right, now the capital fund you were talking about has cash in it.
Mhm.
How much is in there, by the way?
A little more than $100,000. I could get you the exact number, but off the top of my head, it's
And actually,
more than
this
100,000.
budget cycle, you increased that monies, right? Didn't you increase that from last year?
What is this, security now, Sarah? No offense, but.
Well, wasn't there 15,000 put in the
Yeah, to my
capital?
point, usually, Councilman.
Mr. Patterson.
Not for nothing, this isn't like,
Can we go
Well,
further?
it seems like, it seems to be a hot potato, but to tell you the truth, I mean, it
Well,
seems to be.
I'm trying to be courteous to you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Moving forward.
Okay.
The monthly LSRP status that you're asking Rousseau to give us?
Right, that's a professional licensed person.
All right, but that's for hazmat remediation,
For everything.
even regular construction, we're gonna have to
No,
do
that could be, no, that's not part of that report.
just until the remediation is done. Okay, or the demolition, I guess, just until the demolition is done. Okay, all right, and, I don't, what do they mean by the temporary ice rink? What does that mean?
It's a temporary ice rink that's going in like Cumberland Field for 4 months. And once they reach that completion, they will do a complete evaluation of what has happened, either with the traffic, the lighting, the compressor, the usage, and it's.
Is this in the winter?
Yes.
Oh, it's temporarily in the winter, okay. Well, one thing, I mean, 80 to 90 decibels, that was mentioned, I mean, that could easily be ameliorated with a special enclosure.
We're gonna find out.
Okay,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much, and thank you very much for
Anyone else?
Janice Fisher, Manasquan, New Jersey. I coordinate the Puppy Mill Awareness Campaign for Friends of Animals United New Jersey. We're a 1,200-member animal advocacy group throughout the state, so we have members all over the state. I wanted to just mention, because especially for some of the your residents, members of the public that are here tonight, this pet store ordinance would be a preemptive measure. I know there are some questions about, well, we don't have a pet store here, so why would we be doing this? This is the most opportune time to pass a pet store ordinance when you don't have an ordinance in town. You're probably aware, you may not be aware, of many towns in New Jersey that have struggled with problematic pet stores recently in the last couple of years. They've been forced to spend a lot of time, taxpayer dollars, on multiple investigations, on license revocation, and court proceedings. And because these stores have violated health codes, consumer fraud, and animal cruelty laws. In fact, you may be aware, East Hanover, the legal fees alone in that town to rid themselves of Just Cups pet stores was in excess of $90,000. That's taxpayer dollars. So if most towns agree to get an ordinance in place before a pet store would, make a license application because they realized it would be a prudent thing to do. And frankly, the trend is, we had 45 pet stores in New Jersey. We now have 22 after maybe in the last 5 years. So as people become more educated, I don't think that the trend is for pet stores to open. So I truly hope that you'll consider this ordinance, introduce it tonight, and adopt it, and I thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Ellen Coyote. I'm from Hamilton, New Jersey, and I'd just like to speak in favor of the pet store ban ordinance. I've been as New Jersey State certified animal cruelty investigator and involved in animal protection, shelter, and rescue for 41 years now. And as Gandhi said, the greatness of a nation and its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. So I sincerely ask you to vote for this ordinance. For decades, puppy mills have been allowed to exist for over 52 years. It's an old animal welfare law of 1966. It doesn't apply anymore to how we should treat companion animals. And like the other saying goes, all it takes for evil to exist is for good people to do nothing. And that is why this cruel commercial puppy selling industry has continued to this day. But no more. Please be among those who say enough is enough. This is not how living, breathing, feeling beings should be treated. We've domesticated them, made them rely and depend on us, and let us not betray them any longer. As Larry had said, the USDA doesn't really protect anything. They oversee corn and cows, and those are viewed as units of productions, and dogs are lumped in as livestock. But man's allegedly best friend deserves more than to be imprisoned in small cages and only awarded survival standards. If you look at the USDA regulations that the pet stores hold up, you only have to have a cage bigger than 6 inches and the dog. It only has to have access to water twice a day for an hour each day. There's no grooming requirements, so long-haired dogs can be matted and have maggots infested in them and everything. They don't have to have personal interaction with humans, and they can be bred every cycle. And there only has to be an overall veterinary plan. Once a year, a vet walks through the place, and if it kind of sees something, no individual dog is taken care of properly or humanely. They have rotted teeth, broken jaws, wounds from being in cages with other dogs and fighting for the food. It's just really disgusting. Puppy selling stores might be pretty, but they hide behind a massive fraud. And this injustice is the commercial breeders who sell to them. No one can really raise humanely 100 to 1,000 dogs, and that's what these commercial breeding facilities have. I've helped take care of 400 rescue puppy mill dogs last year, and it was just horrendous the way the condition these dogs were in. There's no way to constantly have the supply of puppies ready, and that's why there's major staff cruelty and disregard for their product is inherent in their business model. So they lose a few dogs in transit, or a customer goes home with a parvo dog and it dies. Oh, well, we replace it. Because if they didn't do this and jack up the prices, which you can get a humanely breeder hobby dog for 1/3 to 1/5 the cost, they have to work in this breakage. The death and disease are just inconveniences worked into the system. And the USDA has caught on to that. There's like 9 states in the nation that have a law that you're supposed to be able to look at the breeders and research the reports on the website. Well, they knew we were doing this, and so what did they do? They took the reports down. And when they were starting to write up violations, they were making them a major violation, a minor violation, or giving them a warning and not a penalty, and then what they call teachable moments. Oh, we'll recommend to you do this, but we won't write you up for it. And so, and not only does this exist, but it's like if you're under investigation or violations from the USDA, they automatically renew your license. And then they're trying to make third-party inspections legal and announced inspections so these people can clean up their acts right before they come here. So in closing, the state doesn't protect us because they don't have the resources to look at the records, and the system is broken, and that's why, since we need local ordinances like this that must be passed to protect consumers and dogs. And I just don't understand why there's one standard of cruelty. Animal cruelty is illegal in 50 states, but so if I'm really bad to my dog and kick it around or put it in a cage and leave it there and don't feed it, why are these retail dogs that are processed like this, why is it allowed for them to do that? I don't understand how we have this schizophrenic idea of how animals should be treated. So I urge everybody, there's a great book that came out this year, The Doggy in the Window, how one dog led me from the pet store to the factory farm to uncover the truth of where puppies really come from, by Roy Christ. If you have any questions, it's all in here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Good evening. Delia Collins, Clark, New Jersey. I'm a volunteer with many rescue groups that do rescue in Garwood and also provide for adoption in Garwood. So I hope that you as a committee and mayor have a proactive approach to any of this ordinance. And also, I know you don't have a pet selling dog and cat store, but there's a lot of building going on, and you never know who may come into town and want to open a puppy store. They had it in Scotch Plains, they've had it in other towns. You do have a lot of voters in your town that are involved in rescue. They're your residents. Please back your residents, how they feel about puppy mills and how they feel about cat mills and different things like that. There are hardworking volunteers in this town that come out every weekend. They are out nights, days, helping the animals of your town and of your area. And, you know, I'm not speaking for all of them, but most of them want to see a ban, you know, on puppy mill stores in New Jersey. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none? Do I have I'm sorry, go right ahead.
Jonathan O'Hay, 519 3rd Avenue. My question was kind of basically about the rink, and I'll start out saying that back on May 9th, I happened to be leaving Ann Gray with a cup of coffee and cut it across Gumber Field, and I saw some survey-type guys measuring the basketball courts there, and I was kind of curious, thinking that maybe they're going to do a restoration project on the park there. And I went up and introduced myself, said, "Oh, you guys working on the park?" And they're like, "No, we're, you know, measuring to potentially build a quote-unquote temporary NHL-sized hockey rink that's going to be 40 feet high, and these chillers and stuff." And basically, that's like my backyard. I'm just as close to that, closer than most people in Westfield. And I was kind of surprised that I hadn't heard about it. And I asked him a few questions. I said, "Hey, you know, have the people at the point been contacted?" He was like, "Oh, no, but, you know, both I was talking to Mr. Anderson and Shelley Brindle, he said he reached out to the mayor weeks ago." And I was just wondering why I only heard about it from you a week ago.
Like I said to the other council, it was about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks, it was just a casual conversation, and she said that they were thinking of putting a temporary rink in there, and it's primarily a temporary situation, and once they have to complete their 4-month season, they'll do a complete evaluation of what was going on at that project.
Because most of I run into people walking the dogs from the point literally on a daily basis, and everyone I happen to run into hadn't heard anything from anyone regarding this. And I always thought that there'd be communication between mayors and stuff like that, especially when it comes down to something that's on our border. 40-foot high temporary hockey rink with 24/7 lights, security, taking away parking. It's mostly used by the businesses in Garwood. And then moving the chillers closer to apartments in Garwood. So they don't affect Garwood. It's either Garwood or Garwood. And I'm just kind of surprised that we're learning about this now.
If you're within 200 feet, because they would have had to notify if you're within 200 feet.
They, apparently, the only people that they notified before Mr. Anderson was Shelley and him called the mayor before the 9th. That's when I randomly.
I thought you had to be notified of everything that was being done. Within 200 feet.
Mr. Renat, can you clarify? temporary structure, they have to have a 200-foot notification.
I don't know enough about it
Okay.
to be able to tell you, Mayor. It would seem to me, well, I don't know that the town itself is required to have a planning board hearing, but I don't know enough about the project. I mean, it sounds, you know, I don't know if it's a big project, a little project. I'm only hearing about it for the first time now, so, I don't know.
Okay.
We'd have to, I mean, if you have a planning board meeting and it's on the subject of an application, yes, it's required that there be notice, but I don't know whether, I'm assuming that there was no planning board meeting on the subject, otherwise people within 200 feet would receive notice.
Yep.
I guess my point is, I'm upset that I only, had I not randomly ran into these people, I found out about it a week ago. I would have liked to hear about it sooner and actually had a say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is this just introduction for the rink tonight?
Yes.
Should the council ourselves write a letter of concern to the mayor and
You
council?
could, I
Westfield?
already have done that.
Can we have all of our names if we
Yeah.
have legitimate concerns here?
You're voting on it tonight.
No, but it's intro tonight, and then there's gonna be, so the
No, I think
final
votes tonight.
intros
Final tonight?
tonight.
Yeah, the vote.
Okay.
Well, the finals tonight? Forget that.
What's the vote about?
It's a temporary rink to see if it
Temporary
works out in
rink.
Westfield.
But what's the vote? In other words,
Is it an
what's
ordinance?
being
Is it
voted
a-
on?
Isn't it to enter
Yes.
the agreement with the private company?
Yep.
That's why he's
Yep.
putting it up?
So it would be a resolution.
It's a resolution, so it's one time.
Yeah, I mean, if
Fair
there's a
enough.
resolution to enter into the agreement, that would just be would be preliminary or final, it'd just be voted on.
We can still write a letter of our concern.
And there'll be, you know,
I'd still be in favor of it. No reason not to.
yeah,
We got
No problem.
any opposition to that? Sarah?
I have no opposition, but I do, you know, I think we should be very careful of how that's worded to make sure it has accuracies. I mean, I did see the letter the mayor put up today, and there were some quotes from the local newspaper, but that might be different than what is said at the council meetings. I read, frankly, I feel uncomfortable bringing this up because, I mean, we all know the elephant in the room of a primary election, but based on my,
no, it's.
I just feel, you know, I don't mean to go down that path, so
Okay.
I'll just stop and say yes.
Do we have,
How about that?
okay, do we have a consensus from the council to put together a letter to send to
Yes.
city?
See how the resolution's worded, let's put something together.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Yes.
Make sure it's very accurate.
Wow.
Anyone else? Seeing that this time, do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Shall we carry on, council?
Yes.
Okay. All rise for a moment of silence, salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Notice of the meeting was provided to the Westfield Leader, advertised January 4, 2018. Notification was sent to the Star Ledger, promptly posted on the municipal bulletin board and filed in the office of the municipal clerk, informing the public in time, place according to the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Law, Chapter 231, PL 1975. Kathleen, please roll call.
Mayor Lombardo.
Here.
Councilwoman Krugerov. Here. Councilman Lazaro.
Here.
Councilman McCormick.
Here.
Councilman Sarno.
Here.
Councilwoman Tedisco.
Here.
Council President Flumenstock.
Here.
Kathleen, minutes, please.
Regular workshop and executive minutes of the mayor and council held on May 8, 2018.
Do I have a motion to accept minutes as presented?
So moved, Mayor?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Kathleen, communications.
New Jersey State League of Municipalities,
Receiving file.
Union County Board of Treasurers and Freeholders, Resolution 2018-381, supporting Sandy Hook Promise Initiative.
Receiving file.
Union County Board of Election chosen freeholders regarding Resolution 2018-439 endorsing the 2018 Union County Freeholder Mayor's Challenge.
Receive and file. Move on to ordinances, introduction. Kathleen, please read ordinance 18-14 by title only.
Bond ordinance to authorize the making of various public improvements and the acquisition of new additional or replacement equipment and machinery and new automotive vehicles, including original apparatus and equipment in, by, and for the Borough of Garwood and the County of Union, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $416,000 to pay the cost thereof, to appropriate county grants to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds.
Do I have a motion to introduce bond ordinance 18-14?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call. Kathleen.
Councilwoman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman McCormick.
No.
Councilman Sarno.
No.
Councilwoman Tedisco.
Aye.
Council President Blumenstock.
Aye.
Thank you. Kathleen, please read ordinance 18-15 by title only.
An ordinance to enact Article 5, pet sales, and Chapter 58, animals, in the Code of the Borough of Garwood to prohibit retail sales of certain animals.
Do I have a motion to introduce ordinance 18-15?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman McCormick.
Aye.
Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
Councilwoman Tedisco.
Aye.
Council President Blumenstock.
Aye.
Thank you. Kathleen, please read 18-16 by title only.
An ordinance to amend 27-25 eligibility for membership in Article 2 Junior Firefighter Program and Chapter 27 Fire Department of the Code of the Borough of Garwood to amend eligibility for membership.
Do I have a motion to introduce ordinance 18-16?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Second.
Kathleen, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman McCormick.
Aye.
Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
Councilwoman Tedisco.
Aye.
Council President Blumenstock.
Aye.
Thank you. Council standing committee reports and other reports. Police, Councilman Sarno.
Thank you, Mayor. I was given kind of a public service announcement by Chief Wright to read at tonight's meeting. This is directed to Garwood taxpayers. The tax office wants you to know that residents may be contacted by outside agencies offering their services for a fee to bring delinquent property taxes current, redeeming liens, or obtaining refunds due to them. These agencies are not associated with the tax collector's office and are not authorized to solicit business door to door without first obtaining a permit from the Garwood Police Department. As a caution, you should always request the solicitors show you their permit. If they don't have a permit from the PD, please report them to the PD immediately by calling the non-emergency number at 908-789-1500. The state law requires the borough to provide tax documents under the Open Public Records Act, such as delinquent taxes, overpayment of taxes, and open tax lien information. Be advised that the tax collector's office will not come to your house or call you. All communication regarding property taxes are communicated through regular USPS mail on official borough letterhead. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman. Public Health, Councilwoman Kukrow.
No report, Mayor. The next mayor, the next mayor, the next.
It's on your mind.
The next meeting, the next meeting is in June.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Streets of Rose Ecology, Council President Blumenstock.
Thank you, Mayor. In addition to regular garbage pickup, the DPW continued to install new permit parking signs and poles in various locations utilizing Fanwood's portable air compressor. They also installed the 21 means 21 signs in various locations throughout the borough. New mulch was installed at the sports complex and at Kennedy Plaza, and Garwood Rocks banners were put up near the underpass along Center Street. Fanwood completed sweeping operations of all borough streets with the exception of the 300 block of 3rd Avenue due to utility construction. And the new playground equipment was unloaded at Hartman Park. Also, please be advised that Waste Management has informed us they will not take recycling if it is in black garbage bags. You may use clear bags or cans, of course. Please be a kind neighbor and inform anyone if you see them using black trash bags for their recycling. That's all from my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. Councilman McCormick, Fire Department.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no official report from the chief, but what I will say is that last week I attended a memorial service at the fire department, and not just myself, but the mayor and 3 other council people were in attendance. And I felt it was very nice that we all sat there in corroborations with the fire department for the services that people have given and lost their lives. Not just due to death, but to death of the fire department, but just in life. Anyway, Monsignor Ron gave a good speech, and the mayor also represented the town very well in what he had to say, and that's it for my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Finance, Councilwoman Tedesco.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Buildings and Grounds, Councilman Lazaro.
Thank you, Mayor. Due to rainy weather, the schedule for the installation at Hartman Park was postponed to start immediately after Memorial Day weekend and is expected to be completed during the 3rd week in June. I plan to schedule a committee meeting before completion to discuss with Lenny and Clint a maintenance schedule for the new park, as well as the process and cost of stenciling and seal coating a small area of the basketball court for Foursquare as was originally discussed in our plans. The rec complex update is originally reported by the mayor. I'm thrilled and excited to report that all the work on the recreation complex has been completed and is set to open as soon as the building department completes their final inspection, which we hope will happen very shortly, we think this week or next week at the latest. It was inspected by our DPW superintendent and our engineer after a thorough inspection and oversight conducted by our hired architect, Falcon. Falcon has given high marks to the contractor, Patagonia, on their craftsmanship, timeliness, and communication throughout the project. The building department, as I said, will be doing a final inspection soon. While I have been extremely frustrated by the cost and time it took to complete this project, I want to thank this council for supporting the bond ordinance to fast track this process to get the building open for public use in the very near future. That's all for my report.
Thank you, Councilman. Laws and License, Councilwoman Corporal.
Mayor, I don't really have a report, but I just want to inquire whether the planning board is going to be looking at the fence ordinance in the near future.
Well, no. I don't have the agenda in front of me. Did we agree to go on to the next meeting? I think we did.
I believe so.
We sent the drawings over.
What's that?
We sent the drawings over.
Drawings have been received, and that meeting is tomorrow night at 7:30. And we're also discussing the South Avenue urban renewal, and there's 2 other applications as well on there. So I can't tell you when the fence is going to be discussed, but
But it will be tomorrow.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Recreation, Councilman Lazaro.
Thank you, Mayor. The Recreation Commission met last night to discuss the upcoming summer recreation program. This program is scheduled to run from June 23rd through August 3rd and will be held at the Recreation Complex. 7 trips will be run during the program, and participants interested will be selected based on a lottery system. That's for the actual trips. The program will still also run during the days of the trips for those students that do not attend the trips. If interested, there will be a meeting on June 5th at 6:30 p.m. in the cafeteria at Lincoln School for residents to register. That's all for my report.
Thank you, Councilman. Robert Senior, the liaison, Council President Blumenstock.
Thank you, Mayor. Our last senior meeting was on, May 17th. And despite the rain, we had a nice afternoon of lunch and bingo. I let the seniors know that they would have a new handyman and went over the application for the handyman program. A new form must be filled out each year to ensure that you qualify, and then any appointments can be scheduled through the seniors department at Borough Hall. Our next meeting is June 7th. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. Library Representative, Councilman Lazaro.
Thank you, Mayor. The Garwood Library programs for May and June include the following programs. The Knitting Club Mondays and Thursdays at 10:30 a.m. till June 21st. Kids Chess Mondays at 3 p.m. till June 11th. Book Clubs Mondays, June 18th at 1 p.m. and Thursday, June 7th at 7 p.m. Adult Craft Tuesday, June 12th at 6 p.m. Kids Craft Wednesday, June 6th at 3 p.m. Storytime Wednesdays at 10:30 a.m. till June 20th. Lego Thursday, May 24th and June 14th at 3 p.m. and Movie Time Fridays at 10 a.m. until June 15th. The library will host RB Express, a doo-wop, oldies, and retro band on Thursday, May 31st at 7 p.m. Join them for a night of harmonies and rhythms of the early street corner groups performed by one of the most entertaining bands to emerge from the Jersey Shore. There's a limit of 40 and registration is required. The library will have a booth at Garwood Rocks Sunday, June 3rd from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Stop by and say hello. On June 5th, the library will be a polling place for the primary election. The building will be open to voters at 6 a.m. Library business will be conducted only within its normal hours of 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Seating will be limited and the children's section will be closed during polling. Registration for the summer reading program will start June 11th. This year's theme is Libraries Rock. On June 12th, the library will present our summer reading kickoff concert at the Lincoln School for grades 1 to 4. Polka Dot, aka Ron Albanese, will play feel-good dance and sing-along music. Logins for summer reading begins June 18th. There are lots of other activities planned for summer, including magic shows, animal shows, and crafts. Check our website, the library website, for details. On June 13th, Victoria, the ShopRite nutritionist, will join Storytime to talk about healthy foods and provide some delicious treats to sample. The Garwood Library is open Monday through Thursday from 9 to 8 p.m., Fridays from 9 to 4:30, and Saturdays from 9 to 1 p.m. The library will be closed Monday, May 28th for Memorial Day. That's all for my report.
Thank you, Councilman. School Board Liaison, Councilman McCormick.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. About 30 students were awarded certificates for making the honor roll. The Board of Education read through and updated and/or new policies. They discussed the parsing situation at the library and insurance policies that surround it. A resident expressed concerns about the possible contamination at the Casal property and children walking past the site. The Board of Education also discussed the cost of a boiler at the Washington School, and that work would be done in next year's budget. The Board of Education discussed, and that it is important for the residents to follow the chain of command when it comes to fundraisers, and maybe they should communicate this much better. That's it from my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Celebration of public events and holidays, Liaison, Councilwoman Kukrow.
Thank you, Mayor. We had a very productive meeting this past week. The main topic, of course, was the upcoming Memorial Day event at the Columbian Club on May 28, 2018, starting at 12:30. The setup committee will arrive at 10:30. Discussion was focused on the flyer choices, who and where they are purchasing food and accoutrements. Trumpet player, they were not sure if the Girl Scouts are going to be available, so they were reaching out for Boy Scouts from neighboring town. Sam Rocco will be the guest speaker for the day. We also want to notify council that the flags will be put out by the celebrations committee for this day, which was the protocol in past years. It should be a fun event. Also discussed was the upcoming movie night in September 14th, rain date September 15th. It will be located on the turf field. There will be no meetings for the rest of the summer. The next meeting will be in September, and that's all for my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Union County Air Traffic Noise Advisory Board Representative, Councilman McCormick.
No report, Mayor.
Special Review Committee, Councilwoman Kukrow. I'm sorry, Councilwoman Tedesco.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Historical.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Since this is the last council meeting before the annual Garwood Rock Street Fair, I just want to remind everyone to be on the lookout this weekend for colorful painted rocks like these right in front of me. As the volunteers of the Historical Committee will be hiding them in public spaces throughout the borough. We're very excited to have 25 rocks this year, which is up 5 from the inaugural run of this rock hunt last year. They are labeled with various historical topics, and some of the new ones include the Garwood Brook, Unami Park, and St. Anne's School. An informational booklet will be put together, as it was last year, to be distributed to winners at the rock hunt contest along with a prize. Please remember, only one rock per family. We hope everyone will stop by and check out the Historical Committee booth at Garwood Rocks on June 3rd. So that's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Parking Committee, Councilman Sarno.
No report, meeting will be soon, as
Thank you.
discussed.
Officers' reports.
Municipal Court Administrator LaShawn Durant, monthly report for April 2018.
Do I have a motion to accept the officers' reports?
I'll make that motion, Mayor. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the mayor and council? Please step to the microphone. State your full name and address. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
How about the end?
You're the end. Come on.
The end. Somebody over there.
You never know.
Good evening, Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of council, Bruce Patterson, 225 Willow Avenue. I think you should seriously give thought on that ordinance 1850, that's the puppy mill ordinance. I'm not too sure that you really should be passing it. You probably maybe should table it. But let me just explain why. I mean, you know, obviously this is condemning all puppy mills, but is it all puppy mills are like very egregious with their handling of the animals? You know, or is it maybe some of them? Somehow these people that got up here and talked about it, they didn't really say that. But they did say that the USDA is not putting the reports on the website. Now, I think that's the issue here. Not condemning all the puppy mills, but maybe something that is like a resolution or something to force the USDA to start putting the reports back on there. Plus, I would assume if you really wanted a report on a puppy mill, you could open it from the USDA. But something tells me that you really are doing a sledgehammer here that you shouldn't be doing. I mean, you know, it's nice. I mean, you know, we have a little poodle that's a rescue dog. But anyway, that's enough on that one. The county had its budget meeting, and I'm going to just pass this out, if I may. It's a little chart.
Give it to Kathleen, please.
Thank you. The county budget is $483 million. They're raising taxes approximately $6 million. I don't know if the Garwood tax portion has been received yet. Does anybody know? You know?
I don't see anything yet.
Yeah, some about our rateables went down, so possibly our actually county taxes should go down a little bit. But this chart, this is what I presented to them to show them that they got this good news. It's runaway surplus, and it's actually good news. However, they're not handling the budget properly. That they should be really turning a lot of this surplus back to the residents by way of savings on the county taxes, but they're not. Like I said, the county taxes are going up $6 million this year. But just looking at this chart, 2014, that's when the Runnels sold, and I'm sure some of you were around when I started talking about when they sold Runnels, they started pocketing the operational costs, and that's when the surplus actually started increasing, and this chart shows that. But there's two items that I want to point out. It's the triangle, the chart showing the triangle going up, and 2018 is a 67 million surplus going into 2018, and the X, which is tax increase, that's the bottom one, the little X's. And if you look, the taxes from 2014 to 2018 is roughly like a little less than $10 million. So you can say like 4 times 9 is like $36 million in tax increases they did the last 4 years. If you look at the surplus, which is the triangle line, from 2014, it's around $5 million, and now it's $67 million. So that's a $62 million increase in surplus in those years, and the taxes that they've been raising is approximately $36 million. So we're talking like another close to $30 million increase in surplus over and above the taxes. So I'm trying to explain to you that actually it's the taxes that are not even necessarily needed to be raised, that they could have easily taken it out of surplus. And I tried to explain it to them. And they kind of wrapped up saying, oh, this is a fantastic chart, thank you very much, Mr. Patterson. It shows we're doing such a great job. But I mean, obviously, they're doing a terrible job because, like I said, runaway surplus, it shouldn't be, they should actually be making a zero tax increase, much like Garwood did this year. But that's the county, and that's what I have to say. I might as well just keep talking about the county a little bit. I suggested to them when I wrapped up, they only gave me 5 minutes, then they shut me down.
Well, you're over 3 already, so
Oh, am I?
could you sum up?
Yeah, you know, I was the only one that showed up at the budget meeting to speak from the public. Even the opposition, like Joe Sarno, did not show up, and he's a numbers man, and he should have been there to talk about it. But just some suggestions I told him. I said they really should start, instead of matching grants, you know, making us match grants, they should fully fund the grants. If they got so much money, they should fully fund it. That, you know, I just said that before. And I'll say it again. They had this efficiency ad hoc committee that reviewed the finances, and the ad hoc committee was actually made of other freeholders. So I mean, right there was this inherent bias. It really should be outside people that know numbers. Like John Berry is a good numbers guy. And the Summit taxpayers also good numbers people.
And your final thought, please?
My final thought. Oh, let's see. Oh, okay. And I just wanted to thank Councilman Lazaro for bringing up that there should be a maintenance schedule put on Hartman Park, because that seemed to be a sore thumb that there was no maintenance done on Hartman Park. So thank you very much for at least initiating this with something that should have been done like 20 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Justin O'Hay, 429 Willow Ave. Just to kind of piggyback on what he was talking about, I think most people understand that puppy mills are like it's like the equivalent of a factory farm. The entire business practice is unethical. I actually think that it would look really good on Garwood, regardless of who makes the decision to go forward with that idea. I wasn't even planning on getting up to speak at all. But I think that they showed up in full force, and that what they're standing for is actually something that's really good and ethical. I just think it would be a good thing to check off when it comes to Garwood's decision making.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Seeing none at this time, we'll move forward to consent agenda. Does anyone want a resolution to take it off the consent agenda?
Yes, please, 18-122.
Okay, do I have a motion to,
I would also like to pull up 18-124.
okay, thank you. Do I have a motion to accept the amended consent agenda?
So moved. Second?
Roll call, please, Sarah. I'm sorry. Kathleen?
Councilman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman McCormick.
Yes.
Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
Councilwoman Tedisco.
Aye.
Council President Blumenstock.
Aye.
Kathleen, do you have any resolutions deleted from the consent agenda?
We do not.
Thank you.
We just deleted two.
I'm sorry.
She doesn't her, if she has any, we're gonna get back to that.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, do I have a motion to adopt resolution 18-122?
So moved. Second?
Discussion?
This goes along with my discussions and workshop. I will not be supporting this based on my previous recommendations.
Anyone else?
I have something to say about that.
Okay.
This was 122, right?
That's correct.
122.
I really do appreciate you trying to get me, not force me, talking to me again about the budget, truly I do. But at this point, after 17 years of tax increases to the people of Garwood, and I'm figuring there's gonna be 17 years of tax increases going forward. All I was looking for was 1 year of relief for the people that are paying the bills. That's all I ever wanted. It wasn't a matter of I agreed with everything that was in the budget, how much was being spent, because obviously I didn't. But I went along with it because I felt it was better for the residents that live here. And I appreciate you saying what you have to say, and Councilman McCormick, but this is truly how I feel about it, honestly.
Anyone else?
This is the capital capital budget. A little different. Just don't want to go into that much debt and just leave it up again.
No, I understand that.
Okay.
I'd
Okay,
rather pay cash myself, but.
Then, never mind.
thank you. Roll call.
Councilwoman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman McCormick.
No.
Councilman Sarno.
No.
Councilwoman Tedesco.
Aye.
Council President Blumenthal.
Aye.
Do I have a motion to pass resolution 18-124?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Second.
Discussion?
Can I ask Councilwoman Blumenstock a question?
Yeah.
This could go for just furthermore than just the Mason dump truck, correct?
Technically, the dates say, oh, you mean, can we purchase more from there? Or what do you?
Cooperative.
Can we use the co-op agreement to explore other options in terms of capital projects?
Sure.
That we do? Like,
It's like,
this isn't
we're part of the.
specifically for the Mason dump truck, right?
No, it's just that this particular co-op has the truck that
We're looking for.
was particular to our. Yeah, so we could decide to, in January, re-up, or with this co-op
Yeah.
again, or we can decide not
But
to.
it gives us more
It's another added,
opportunity.
yes, it's another option if we come across something we want to purchase, yes.
Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman McCormick.
No.
Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
Councilwoman Tedesco.
Aye.
Council President Blumenthal.
Aye.
We're moving on to new business, proclamation Mayor's Wellness Campaign. Moving on, payment of claims.
Be resolved that the following claims as approved be and the same are hereby ordered, paid, were properly signed and verified, and the payment of payrolls as listed is hereby confirmed and ratified.
Do I have a motion to adopt payment of claims?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman McCormick. Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
Councilwoman Tedesco.
Aye.
Council President Blumenthal.
Aye.
Move to adjournment. The regular meeting of the mayor and council will be held on Tuesday, June 12, 2018, in council chambers at 7:15 p.m. Workshop session will start at 7 p.m. There will be a public hearing in council chambers on ordinance number 18-14, 18-15, and 18-16 on Tuesday, June the 12th, 2018, at 7:15 p.m. or soon thereafter. A motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you and good night.